Demons Discuss, Take 52, the one with the closet raid.
Welcome to Demons Discuss, the unofficial podcast about the All Souls universe and the topics that orbit it. We're your hosts, Angela, Jean, and Valerie. I'm Valerie, and with me is Angela and Jean. Hello, ladies.
Greetings.
Hello.
What are we talking about today, Angela?
Shadow of Night, Chapter 25.
Yay!
Yay!
We just left Mary's lab. Now we're back at Diana's digs and have a very special visitor.
Special. I can't wait.
Yes, you can.
Yes, I'm going to.
Because we've got things to do first.
We have things to do.
Yes.
So this podcast is sponsored by our wonderful patrons. Our patrons generously give us some of their change because they don't want ads, or at least that's part of it. They certainly don't want to hear us reading them or talking about products they really don't concern them, like mattresses or toothbrushes.
Or box meals.
Or box meals. Because you know what? Most people have mattresses and toothbrushes. They don't really need that. And box meals,
There's still too much work.
You're still cooking. There's a McDonald's down the street, right? Not that that's good for you. But anyway.
The sushi restaurant's down the street over here, but
if you're into that. And they also don't want us interrupting our normal nonsense with ad nonsense in the middle of their All Souls reprieve. Who are our patrons? Good question. They are listeners like you. Yay! So Jean, persuade our non-patron listeners why they should bother throwing money into our tip jar. What's in it for them?
oh, there's a ton in it for them. We do an extra show that shows up on the off week, so you get Demons weekly as opposed to fortnightly. As you go up the levels, you get additional swag, like stickers and tote bags, and we'll be adding a couple of extra levels and some new different things.
I heard tell about pouches.
Yes, pouches, and we may have a special offer for existing patrons. Buy some special merchandise. So you get the after show, and then in the after show, you may find out about all kinds of other deals and insider tips.
And gossip.
And nonsense about us.
Nonsense.
Cackling.
Yeah. It's the cackle hour.
Yeah. Okay, so if we've talked you into becoming a patron, or you just want us to shut up about it, our work here is done. Check it out. Go to patreon.com/demonsdiscuss. Okay, so now on to our discusser feedback. Who's got some feedback for us?
Oh, I've got a wonderful SpeakPipe message from Lauren of the Lovely Voice.
Yay, Lauren! We get to hear her lovely voice.
You make it sound like she's from the land of the lovely voice.
Land of lovely voices.
No, I know she is, but there is an actual land of lovely voices. And she's the queen of it.
Where they breathe
Definitely.
them.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so let's hear from Lauren of the lovely voice.
Hey demons, this is Lauren. Just checking in on chapter 25. I wanted to talk about the dress that Mary Sidney brought over for Diana to wear to see Queen Elizabeth at court. I love all of the descriptions of the silks and the velvets and how big and exotic it is, at least in my mind. If I had to spend 2 hours getting ready for something like that, I think I would fall over. I really love the petticoat with not just the flowers and the plants and the animals, but also all of the scientific equipment and architecture. I think that's the one that got me excited the most. Just, it filled my imagination with joy. So have a great episode. Bye now.
Did you hear all the birds in the background there?
I know.
Wasn't it beautiful?
It's like evening shade.
I know. So in the land of the lovely voices, there's
There's lovely birds.
there's flora and fauna around, like Snow White.
When she opens her windows, yes.
Yeah,
Oh, gosh. Hopefully Lauren's birds do the housekeeping, too.
I know. That'd be
Yeah.
lovely.
Help her make the bed.
All right. Who's got something?
I do. I have a discusser email from Chloe.
Hey, Chloe.
Hello. She says, hello, Demon Divas, yet again. I hope you're not going to grow tired of my constant emails.
Never.
Never. So, chapter 25. Well, one thing always stands out for me when I read this chapter, and it's that Matthew was a whore before he met Diana. To borrow a phrase from a friend, he is a whore no more.
Okay.
Everyone found their way into Matthew's bed, and it always makes me laugh. Lizzie the Virgin Queen has great approval for Matthew's carnal skills. I know these chapters are meant to be serious, but I always end up laughing because I'm extremely immature.
Me too.
I was going to say, don't we all have our moments?
Yeah.
Matthew being a spy and answerable to one of the most powerful and frightening men in England also makes me chuckle because anyone giving Matthew orders and expecting him to obey is rolling the dice on that one. Love hearing from you ladies. Your vampire down under, Chloe.
Thank you, Chloe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See, okay, and I feel like we're going to get into this a little bit more as we go through the chapter because this has been a mystery for years. Years. Did they or didn't they? Lizzie and Matthew. We'll discuss further. No,
I'm not even sure she did it with Robin. If she'd done it with anyone, it was with Robin. And he was already dead by the time we got to Shadow of Night. So we're going to have to wait for Serpent's Mirror and find out.
I think she was awfully pouty. I think there was some tickle and giggle there.
I think she thrived on attention.
Yeah, could be.
She liked to be surrounded by her boys.
All right. So this chapter discussion is brought to you by Creatures Rock. And indeed they do. Thank you,
God,
Creatures
yes,
Rock.
do. We love you, creatures.
Thank you.
Yay. So we're going to start the wagon here and get ready for this little ride. We left off in chapter 24 with Matthew and Diana just solving a potential clue as to where Ashmole 782 may be when they got called into Mary's lab to observe a little tree growing and thriving in the alembic. Matthew decides to add his blood to the mix, and they observe the quote-unquote tree and branch where Delight's fruit ripen. And then we open up in chapter 5 with a progress report on the tree. It's thriving, and Diana's continuing with her witchy lessons. She's got a new wooden box to put her spells in to incubate for other witches. She's perfecting her disguising spell, and she's generally feeling pretty good about herself right now. She's, feeling herself as she's walking home from goodies. So, yeah. Then she gets in the house and oops, there's somebody there. As she's disrobing, by the way. And
of course.
Hangry.
And hangry, yes.
You know what? This is like the quintessential modern woman moment translated to Elizabethan England. It's that moment when you walk back in the house and you take off your bra because it's like, I am so done with this day.
I'm done with it. It reminded me of Devin when she'd get home from school because she'd eat lunch. Her lunch period was something like 10:30 or 11. And by the time she was done from school, she was hungry. So her book bag would go on the floor. Her jacket would get flung somewhere. Her shoes. She'd take off her top shirt. She'd take off and then be a nice trail. And then she'd sit there looking at me mad. I'm hungry.
Yes.
No.
That's someone with a healthy metabolism. But Diana, on the other hand, I was kind of surprised that she reacted that way because she wasted no time turning into that bratty aristocrat. Someone feed me.
Feed me now.
Whereas when she was at Satur, she took the keys and she explored and she fed herself. Yes.
The petulant teen snuck out again.
Yes.
Yeah. In the midst of her screaming that she needs to eat, damn it, someone serve me my food.
You know what? I'm going to use that line tonight. See what happens.
It is Friday, Right. I get away with that kind of stuff on Fridays. Oh, God. So actually what she says, if someone doesn't feed me in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to start screaming. So, yeah, a little bit petulant there.
It's a very Veruca Salt. So,
Yes.
I want it now.
And then a gentle cough came from the direction of the fireplace. Whoops. And what did you guys think of this dude?
Oh, I knew what to think of this dude because I've read enough history.
Yeah.
It was the big fat gulp. It's like, no, this is not
I thought it was delicious, though, to have, for all the mentions of Shakespeare and to not meet him, I thought it was perfect to have Burleigh in her parlor.
William Cecil sitting there waiting for her like a spider in the middle of a web. It was perfect.
Oh, yeah. That's a good analogy right there. Ooh.
And it wasn't Charlotte's Web by any means.
Not as nice. We get into this. Who are you? The man is not a demon, a witch, vampire. He was merely a wrinkled human. So we established that right away.
Merely.
He's an old human. And he comes back and he says, I believe that your husband and his friends called me the old fox. See, me not being a history buff, when I first read this, I was like, okay, so, I'm I am also for my sins the Lord High Treasurer. So I'm going to use that word again, nobility of some kind.
Well, he didn't start out that way.
Legitimately nobility.
Yeah.
General nobility. Oh, sorry. William Cecil was sitting in my parlor. Okay. So, yeah, me as first reading this, I'm like, okay, William Cecil. The name sounds familiar, but what does that even mean to me? And what's that have to do with the old fox? So I had to go back and do all the research just to keep myself straight. And then Diana's like, she's like, oh shit. She's kind of frozen in place and
her bra's dangling in her hand.
I know.
And she's like, oh shit.
Dude says, I am somewhat familiar to you then. I'm surprised my reputation has reached so far, for it is clear to me and many others that you are a stranger here. Diana goes to say something and Cecil's like, yeah, before you say anything, it's wise policy, madam, not to share overmuch with me. So basically, I'm going to stop you right there.
Because I already know what you're going to say.
I'm going to stop you right there before some lies come flying out or excuses. I'm not trying to hear it.
Well, it's kind of how we operate too. It's like, don't tell us things you don't want us to take action about.
Yeah. Better be straight or don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
Bite your tongue is sometimes the best course of action.
She goes, what can I do for you, Sir William? Sir William is kind of upset over this. He goes, I'm called Lord Burleigh now, Mistress Royden. The Queen is a generous mistress.
For as much as Diana knows about a lot of people and being a historian of science.
That era, yeah.
And alchemy, she really knows nothing about this guy. And and it's surprising.
She responds with honor, virtuous, premium. Okay, thank you. Premium.
Yeah, I love this whole sequence.
And then I guess that means esteem is the reward of virtue, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the Shirley motto. That's what that is, apparently. The Shirley motto. Are you a member of that family? And they're known for their propensity to wander. So this is not a friendly visit.
No.
I know this.
No, and I love the fact she plucked this Latin out of her head because it was like the call to arms for one of the rugby teams at Oxford.
I'll just throw this at him. Maybe he'll shut up.
It's like, wait a minute. I remember my rugby friend saying this. This must mean something good.
So she goes on to explain, no, I'm a bishop, but not an actual bishop. And then she goes on to blubber on and he's like, no, stop.
Wait, but I love Lord Burleigh inclined his head like, duh.
And she's just blathering. It's so funny.
Yeah. He goes to say, Her Majesty accepts a married clergy, but female bishops are, thanks be to God, outside the scope of her imagination. So thank God that you aren't a bishop, because that'd be another problem altogether.
Right.
There would be the patriarchy rearing its ugly head right there.
Right. And then she's flustered at this point. She's like, yes, no. Is there something I can help you with, my lord?
Right.
Come on, stop. Stop it. So basically the queen is bored and, she's going to be looking for things to do. And he's letting her know that in his so passive aggressively polite way.
You need to beat feet out of town.
Right. He goes, I think not, Mistress Royden, but perhaps I can do something for you. I advise you to return to Woodstock without delay. And then she's like, why, my lord? Because it's winter and the queen is insufficiently occupied at present. Basically, she's bored and you're easy pickings. I'm doing you a favor. A lot of people helping, offering to help.
Do you think he did this on his own or do you think he was advised to do it?
I think he did it on his own. I mean, he's like, you're easy pickings and you're distracting Matthew from paying attention to her.
And this is a problem for all of us, basically. That's how I took it.
I need your husband at court to fix this and you can't come with him.
And so Diana, taking the little bit she knows and talking about them as if they're fact, Matthew isn't the queen's favorite. He's her spy. He schools her. Favorites and spies are not mutually exclusive, except where Walsingham was concerned.
I love this.
I do too.
The queen found his strict morality maddening and his sour expression unendurable. But Her Majesty is fond of Matthew Royden. Some would say dangerously so. And your husband has many secrets. Go back to Woodstock, mistress. It's best for all concerned.
As I'm reading this, it's like, why are you telling her to go back to Woodstock without Matthew? That's a big fat mess there waiting to happen. I took it as like, I'm telling you to go back to Woodstock and let the villagers solve that problem.
I don't think he cares. I didn't take it like that, but I don't think he cares what would happen.
Yeah.
She just wanted her out of his way. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to be out of here because the queen is getting antsy and Matthew is otherwise occupied with this woman.
This problem's my problem. You're not.
Right. And
I just feel like he knew that an invitation to court was imminent.
yes. She's kind of like being defiant, Diana. She's not going to be run out of town because this old dude told her so. So, no.
Yeah. We've had this conversation before that, some people always perceive her as being a doormat, but her reticence kind of flies out the window when she realized he's sitting in her parlor because she's blathering, she's blurting out things she shouldn't. And then she's like, oh, hell no, I'm not going.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so much for reticent Diana.
Yeah. And then she goes on to say Elizabeth might eat courtiers for breakfast, as Matthew has warned, but she was not going to run me out of town. Not when I was finally getting settled, finding friends, and I'm learning my magic. I am not going anywhere, okay? I'm staying here. Certainly not when Matthew dragged himself home every day looking as if he'd been pulled backward through a knothole, only to spend all night answering correspondences sent to him by the Queen's informants, his father, and the congregation. So basically, look, I'm here for my dude. He's going through hell. I'm making my friends. You're not going to run me out of town. And I don't disagree with her.
No, I don't either.
No,
At least
no.
she's got valid reasons to back it up. At first, it just sounded like she's just going to do the opposite and dig her heels in, but she had valid reasons.
Yeah, she's not just being petulant here. So Lord Burleigh is like, okay, tell Matthew I called. I'll be back. Thank you for the conversation, Mistress Royden. It was most illuminating. That always seems very ominous. It's like, how was it illuminating to you? What did I just give away about myself?
Right.
What's going on? So, she's still being kind here. She's like, go with him, Francoise. Make sure Lord Burleigh finds some of his own servants. And he's like, no need. I'm an old man with a stick. The thieves will ignore me in favor with someone with an earring and a slashed doublet. The beggars I can beat off if need be, and my men are not far from here. Remember my advice, mistress. He leaves.
He totters off.
Yeah. Francois is sitting there cursing, like, oh, shit, here we go.
I love Francoise.
I know.
And then she forks her fingers against the evil eye for good measure when he leaves.
I really wonder what Francoise' background is at this point.
Telling you, I wouldn't mind a purple notebook about Francoise.
I don't know.
know.
She crossed herself, so.
Well, I kind of think sometimes I get this feeling she's very Roma.
Yeah, I could see that.
Especially with, throwing the evil eye and the cross, because she seems more Christian than Berber. But that's kind of the impression that I could be totally wrong, but that's just thought that drifted through my mind.
That whole passage there is a big mixed bag for her crossing herself, doing the forked fingers, and then saying he's an old soul. That's like a total mix. It's not definitely one stream of religion.
Yeah.
That's why Roma kind of came to mind, because it's like the old soul, and it's like she meant it in a very ominous way, because most people are like, oh, they're old souls, like young people who have a great deal of understanding, but the way she said it is like, it's not a good thing.
And then she goes on to say, I do not like the way he looked at you. It's a good thing my lord is not home yet. He would not have liked it either. And she's like, what? He's like my grandfather. What are you even talking about?
She was thinking of, she went to the whole sexual thing right away. And I was like, yeah, no.
She goes on to explain, Lord Burleigh did not look at you as though he wanted to bed you. How did he look at me then? Like you were a lamb ready for slaughter and he was weighing the price you would bring. And basically, that's how I took it.
Yeah, he was trying to figure out where he was going to move this pawn on the chessboard to.
But he was trying to give her a head start. Go back to Woodstock. I'll give you a head start, and there won't be anything further. But
you have a handicap
if you don't go.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm only doing this because I'm a wee bit afraid of Matthew. Well, wee bit afraid of Philippe. Probably he's human, so he doesn't realize that she's Philippe's daughter. So
yeah, he doesn't have that insight,
and he only has one track mind. Elizabeth in England, which is one and the same.
Which is basically his job. That's what he's paid to do. So he's doing his job. Matthew comes in Apparently he slid in all vampiric. No one even noticed. And he says, who's threatening to eat Diana for dinner? Diana says, your visitor. You just missed him. And she's drinking wine, you know.
And he just kind of like takes the glass right out of her hand. Like, really? Come on now. My girl just needs to calm her nerves.
She complains. She's like, can you wave or something to let me know when you're about to move? It's disconcerting when you just appear before me like that, you know?
It's almost like a scene out of Bewitched.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
So he says, as you've divined that looking at the window is one of my tells, I feel honor bound to share that changing the subject is one of yours. So what visitors? Come on. She goes,
it's kind of like George in the story about the book.
Yeah, I know. It's like,
tell me.
out. She goes, William Cecil was waiting by the fire when I came home. And then Matthew's like, oh, damn.
It was like a total Homer Simpson moment, like, oh, shit.
Yeah. And she goes on to say, he's the scariest grandfatherly person I've ever met. Burley may look like Father Christmas with his gray hair and beard, but I wouldn't turn my back on him. Matthew's like, yeah, that's wise. And he goes on to interrogate Francoise. You know, what did he want? Francoise is like, I don't know. He was here when I came home with Madame's pork pie. You know, I was about to feed her. Like, she comes home and she complains that I was about to feed her. And Lord Burleigh asked for wine. That demon drank everything in the house earlier today, Kit. And, and I went out for more. So then Matthew disappears, and we all know he ran up to the attic to see what the fuck just happened. Diana's like, did he? Matthew's like, yeah, no, he didn't touch anything. It's all cool. So Matthew asked what William said while he was there, and Diana answered, Lord Burleigh told me to tell you he called, and he told me to leave the city. And then the kids come stumbling in like, la-di-da. They notice Matthew's pissed. They're like, oh shit, we better stop. Diana eases the situation by telling Pierre to take the kids to Cardinal's hat. And I love Jack's exuberance here. He's like, huzzah!
Yeah. Juggling.
Yay! Master Shakespeare's teaching me how to juggle. And she says, so long as he doesn't try to improve your penmanship. So basically implying, don't learn how to forge, please.
I love that. I love how that just keeps coming up.
So the kids go away. Back to Matthew and Diana wants answers. Why did Lord Burleigh come all the way to this part of town to come and see you? It's because Matthew received intelligence from Scotland. And what did you guys think of this? I mean, this whole deal. I mean, I was like, I don't know that it was because he received intelligence from Scotland, or was it because Diana, or maybe the thing with Scotland brought this up, or I don't know. But I think Elizabeth didn't want to be shown up by that king who was starting to interrogate witches, and she's like, maybe I should do the same.
No, I don't know if it was that so much, is whether they should step in, or she was always more on the rational side as far as her orthodoxy.
She wanted to keep out of it as long as
she was always very even-keeled with religion. She lived through her sister Mary Tudor, who killed.
Right. Okay.
Almost killed her.
So that's not the point of view she's coming from. It's not that she doesn't want to be shown up. She just wants to be able to
handle the situation. And
handle the situation, right.
Burleigh heard witches and then thought about Diana, too. So he may have been killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah. Which makes sense now.
I think he was there more for Diana, though.
I think the excuse was Scotland was the excuse to get Matthew's ear.
Yeah.
All of that's going on, and Matthew tells her, you shouldn't trouble yourself with what's happening in Scotland. Diana says, not knowing doesn't keep it from happening. And then Matthew says, neither does knowing, though. So, you know, he has a point. She came home with a wooden spell box. This is the next day anyway. She's got a place to put her written spells and let them incubate, I guess, so other witches can use them. I didn't pay attention to this the first time I read it. I was like, how does that even work?
No, I didn't either.
It has to sit and settle, I guess, like wine.
Yeah.
Get some age on it.
I don't know. My mom has always said, she's like, words are things. And how we always say, let things marinate. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Just like any other kind of writing, you write a draft and you set it aside and then you come back to it. But this gets a special little place to live.
Got it.
And some of us let some of our drafts marinate for far too long.
It's like, that's gone bad.
Won't name any names.
She goes into the description of the box. It's from the rowan tree that the fire drake gave her the night she made her force spell. And whoever worked on this box was very intricate with it. it. There's no nails. So Deb with her descriptions, it's like you can get lost in the whole description and miss the point of the story. So.
You'd like thinking, wow, that's true craftsmanship. Yeah. And then we're like, wait a minute.
Tell me more.
Right.
It's like, but this is not the point of this chapter.
Right.
No, not at all. It almost reminds me of one of those Japanese puzzle boxes where you slide it's all joined and you slide to different sides, and
yeah,
it's kind of, you got to figure out the right sequence in order to get it to open.
I've seen those. Those are really nice. Expensive too.
I had one somewhere.
Okay, so she gets home, the house is quiet, and Matthew was testing the theory of vampires not getting drunk from wine minus the blood. He was in a study alone, drinking and brooding.
He's so good at that.
Yes. So she goes, okay, what's wrong, Matthew? And he picked up a sheet of paper. Thick red wax clung to its folds. The seal was cracked across the middle. We are called to court. And then she sinks down in her chair and she's like, oh, shit. When? What did you think of this? Them being called to court? And I kind of felt this was coming.
I would say I thought they should have seen it coming.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like,
not only that, it's like, why did it take this long? It was kind of like the whole thing with Father Hubbard all over again. Okay, you've pissed off everybody in London. You didn't go see Andrew when you were supposed to. And now you're just hanging out here. And now you're shocked that after all this time that you get called to court, especially when Henry and Walter have been in and out. And it's, she definitely knows you're around because you're getting boatloads of mail at the Heart and Crown.
I think she finally got to it, and the tipping point was him marrying without her permission. He's like, okay, now I'm ready to deal with this.
Yeah, that's her big thing.
What?
Yeah.
He says, Her Majesty has graciously permitted us to wait until tomorrow. Well, that was nice of her.
Burley came back with intelligence. Yep, she's real. She's in the flesh. She's there. Go ahead, send your invite.
Yep. He did warn her. It's like, look, you can go home. But this is the next day, so I guess he expected her to go home that night.
He figured she'd be beat out of town that night.
I would imagine when he talks, people listen usually.
Yeah.
Well, except for Diana.
He's not used to this defiant shit. Okay. In her letter, the Queen took pains to remind me of her statute against conjurations, enchantments, and witchcraft. So we all know that the Queen knows what Diana is. Just all subtly hinting at it, but, it's plain to us looking at this. It's like, oh, yeah, she knows Diana's a witch. Matthew tossed the paper on the table. It would seem Mr. Danforth wrote a letter to his bishop. Burley buried the complaint, but it resurfaced. Magically! How did that happen?
How convenient.
Yes. So Diana wants to know, then why are we going to court? Okay. And Matthew says, because if we're not in the audience chamber at Richmond Palace by 2 p.m. tomorrow, Elizabeth will arrest us both. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of problematic.
Yeah, that's good enough.
Well, and I was thinking being beheaded at the tower is permanent.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And the fact that it would alert the congregation and stir up all sorts of drama, all of this, it's like, yeah, okay. The whole neighborhood apparently was anticipating this. Yeah. The Countess of Pembroke arrived shortly after dawn with enough garments to outfit the parish. She traveled by river, having taken her barge to the Blackfriars. Although the actual distance was little more than a few hundred feet, because, you could go out the back way and just show up in her back door. But she wanted to make her appearance, and her appearance at Water Lane Landing was treated as a public spectacle of enormous importance. So, I don't know, it's just the neighbors looking at the limo, big black limo pulling up in front of your neighbor's house, like, what the fuck? What's going on
two
here?
Things. That gossip traveled as fast as it did. And the other thing is Mary did that because she was signifying her support.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So that's really cool. Let's go into the whole wardrobe choosing.
Oh, man. I love it. Clothing is armor. Because, quite frankly, that's pretty much all women had for the longest time to signify their status and basically use it as a nonverbal communication.
Mm-hmm.
They still do today.
Yeah.
But in Elizabethan times, it's like if you had an exposed earlobe, dress it. If you have a shoulder, put something on it. If you have a neck, put another chain on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a button, hang something from it.
If her ruff is 4 inches, yours should be 6.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And I found out something extremely interesting the other day in relation to all of this. We all know that purple is a very expensive dye and sumptuary laws and this and that and the other thing. And very few people were entitled to wear purple.
Okay.
Black wasn't far behind.
Really?
In order to get a black dye set and be dark enough and even enough, it was very expensive and very laborious. So you would only see nobility in black.
Novelty.
And if you think about, and that's the de Claremont colors have always been black and silver, which is almost pretty much an understated FU. It's like, look, I don't even have to wear purple to prove my point.
Yeah, I got the black bitches. Look.
Yeah, I've got the black bitches.
And so Elizabeth's like, I do too.
Yeah. I like the fact that she was like, I was just going to wear my wedding dress because that's probably the most grand thing she owned. And Mary's like, no, that's French. That's terrible. What are you doing?
I know. I love how Mary is so smart on how she can navigate all these subtle minefields. I love this whole part. Like, just shut up and let me dress you.
Right.
Because this is not going to work otherwise.
Just like you said, Jean, Mary likened it to going to battle with proper armor. She made sure she was ready for battle. She goes on to say, my favorite garment by far was the white satin petticoat that would be visible from the front of the divided skirts. It was embroidered too with mainly flora and fauna, accompanied by bits of classical architecture, scientific instruments, and female personifications of the arts and sciences. I recognize the same hand at work as that of the genius who created Mary's shoes.
I didn't think over much.
I avoided touching the embroidery to make sure, I'm not going to make Lady Alchemy walk off the petticoat. Like, because that was a disaster with the shoes.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing was that she'd find the overskirt in black and silver with the fleur-de-lis that also subtly reminds her that she's a de Claremont, which was very, very interesting in the fact that she made sure it was last year's design so she didn't, overshadow the queen.
Yeah. It's like, oh, no. You can't have the latest things.
No.
Everything is intentional.
Yes. Everything is it's like, well, this is nice, but not too nice.
How were you guys on my very, very first read of Shadow of the Night? I was thinking, I don't really understand sleeves, coats, dresses. Why are they all plural? And then it's like the anatomy of an Elizabethan dress, which the farthingale, the bum roll, the different sets of sleeves, the ruff, it's all put together.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about the sleeves is it's almost like kind of interchangeable too. You could change the sleeves with the bodice and they all kind of tie together, which I thought was really neat. And I think it's also part of it is to facilitate cleaning and making sure the garment lasts longer.
I am so sorry I'm going here right now, but remember color forms?
Yes.
That's what it reminds me of when you can mix and match and you could, they were like magnetic and you could layer stuff. And
I totally agree.
You have certainly dated yourself right there.
I don't care.
As we all are dated along with you. Sleeves. Let's see. When I thought of sleeves, I kind of knew what they were. I kind of knew only because, and I can only relate it to my own experiences. And while we were deployed in Iraq, a lot of the security forces would get issued sleeves, basically this one sleeve on the one arm that hangs out the window when they were doing these convoys. They'd be in these convoys for a very long time, and a lot of them were complaining that their left arm was getting burned because there's no air conditioning in these vehicles.
Right.
So their arm would hang out the window, and they'd have one arm burned by the end of the day. So they came up with these sleeves to protect that arm. So you slide the sleeve on.
Well, and I was also thinking, I don't know if you guys ever remember sometimes you could get the ski jackets that were the convertible. You can convert them from jackets to vests where the sleeves would zip off. Yeah. That's what I was kind of thinking of.
But 4 women to dress her in 2 hours. Holy shit. Could you imagine?
Well, Oscar Day.
Yeah.
Because, she's talking about hair and jewels and everything else. So, I can see 4 women in 2 hours.
Hair, makeup, the whole 9.
Yeah.
Somebody bringing in a whole bunch bunch of clothes, shoes. They have to match. Jewelry has to be a statement.
And it was like Spanx times 10.
Right. Harry Winston sending over his necklaces. You have to pick one. You know? Yeah.
Well, not here. You just picked as many as you could and figured out how you were going to make them not look garish.
Right. Make sure you return them at the end of the night. Yeah. So the subject of jewelry proved controversial. Mary had her coffer with her and pulled out one priceless item after another. But I insisted on wearing Isabeau's earrings rather than the ornate diamond drops that Mary suggested.
They worked once. Might work again.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking something told her to wear Isabeau's earrings just
in case.
Just in case. You never know.
Yeah.
So she's all dressed, and Matthew, who's been in a bad mood as the hour of doom approached, he managed to look at her and smile, and he was impressed. He was like, "You look lovely," formidably so.
Well, I had to laugh because when she started taking apart Angela's broom necklace.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking Elizabeth should have been taken pause or been impressed with a Plantagenet given or bestowed necklace.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised that Mary made it more, well, given how mercurial she could be, maybe that's why Mary took it apart to tone it down a bit.
Yeah, and given the odd path that the Tudors got to the throne.
The throne.
Yeah. I don't know. If I watched her take apart the necklace that my father-in-law gifted me,
well,
I would have been like, what are you doing?
But here's the thing you've got to remember with the jewelry back then, it was made to be convertible, because even if you look at a lot of the jewels in the British royalties collection right now, some of the tiara can be a necklace, a bracelet, and a brooch that all fit on a cage, and you can take it apart and wear it as 3 separate pieces or wear it as a tiara. So the idea of jewelry being convertible like that is a very old idea.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and it's been a tradition for a long, long time. So I don't necessarily see Mary, ruining it or taking it apart in a way that it's not going to be able to be put back together.
Unless I'm putting it back together. I mean, you have to leave instructions. Please tell me the reverse order how you did this.
Yes, exactly. Same here.
Like a damn puzzle ring in Turkey. I brought one of those home. I was like, oh no, you just take it apart. I have not been able to put that shit together since.
Oh no.
God. All right. So what did you think of Matthew's outfit? He was looking rather dapper here. Mm-hmm. He was wearing the portrait miniature around his neck.
I love that.
I thought it was lovely.
He was doing things intentionally too.
Yeah. Okay. We go over to Richmond Palace. Richmond Palace was on top of a creamy stone tower. The royal standard snapping in the breeze. More towers soon appeared, sparkling in the crisp winter air, like those of a castle out of a fairy story. Wow. Imagine seeing that. It's like, oh, I'm about to see these people. What's going on? I don't know. I was dreading it. I wasn't having, I was like, ooh, I can't wait to meet the queen. I was like, oh shit. I don't want to meet the queen.
Not going to be good.
Oh gosh.
I honestly was more nervous to meet Isabeau and Philippe on separate occasions.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So what did you think about entering the palace with all the nobility?
I was excited to see how Matthew was going to fit into all this, to be honest with you, because I'd read enough other Elizabethan historical fiction and whatnot to kind of have this kind of scene in my head, but I wanted to see what would happen when he dropped a noble vampire into the mix.
Right. So Gallaglass was with them. He goes, she'll not see you in private before you've been draped over the tenterhooks in public. So basically, you guys can hang out there so everybody can see you and make their assumptions.
And assume that I'm mad at you because you're out there and not in here.
Right. Start the gossip train going, and so you can feel a little embarrassed.
She's a real piece of work.
Yeah. This is the opposite entry they had from Mont Saint Michel.
Yes.
Cool your heels.
You can come in like the peasants do.
Cardinal Joyeuse said, he has got to answer to his God. Well, now he's answering to a different God in Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. She's got shit to say.
Yeah.
Subtly, but she's still got to say it.
I see and am silent, which is coming in a minute.
So we obediently followed our escorts to a grand staircase staircase. It was thronged with people. The clash of human, floral, and herbal scents was dizzying. Everybody was wearing perfume in an effort to ward off unpleasant odors, but I had to wonder if the result was worse.
Yeah.
Like, when you walk into Macy's and the perfume girls, come on. Whoa, what are you guys doing to me?
But they're covering body odor and other stuff.
I know. So it now smells like flowery.
Yeah.
Flowery funk.
B.O. Flowery B.O. It's like, talk about that word, what was the name? Professor Campanella was talking about the miasmas in New Orleans which was basically, they were calling yellow fever the miasma. It's kind of like, that's what I imagined reading it this time around. It's like, yeah, here comes like, the air is so chunky and it's just this disgusting mix of sweet and
too much.
Sweet and death. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Even if it's not the people, it's the clothes worn over and over again.
Over and over
Yeah.
again. Because I imagine laundering those pieces wouldn't be an easy thing.
I don't think it's necessary. It's because of so many overskirts. Deb did say that they were, despite people's belief to the contrary, they were very clean because you were constantly changing your clothing closest to your body, the chemises and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And they were washed. That's why you had a laundress full. That's why you've got the slutty laundresses, because they were always washing clothes.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe it wasn't quite as bad, but I certainly don't think it was up to 21st century hygiene standards.
No. Mm-mm. Okay. So after passing through a series of 3 antechambers, each filled to bursting with padded, scented, and jeweled courtiers of both sexes, we finally arrived at a closed door. Then we waited. The whispers around us rose to murmurs. A man shared a joke, and his companions tittered. Matthew's jaw clenched. It's just like,
Yeah, I guess he's got that little muscle in his cheek that's starting to twitch. I can just see. Oh,
He's like, I heard that.
Yeah.
Matthew Good is going to be so freaking delicious in this scene. Oh,
Provided we get it.
we'll get
Wish
it.
list. Yeah.
We'll get it.
So Diana finally wants to know, okay, why are we waiting? And
Come on,
she's-
Diana. Come on.
You're a historian, for God's sake. Were you not paying attention that day in class?
So Matthew, he shuts her up. He's like, to amuse the queen and to show the court that I am no more than a servant.
FYI, the Tudors docuseries was out in 2009, Diana. I know I know you watched it.
She was too busy. She was too busy. Okay, so they're at last admitted into the royal presence, and they were surprised to find in this room was full of people. Private was a relative term in court of Elizabeth. I searched for the queen, but she was nowhere in sight. Fearing that we were going to have to wait again, my heart sank. And then we meet her. What did you guys think?
I loved it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was like the moment I've been waiting for. And she
Really?
didn't disappoint at all. At all.
No. She
was
goes
perfect.
on and she says, why is it that every year I grow older, Matthew Royden seems to look 2 years younger? I wonder. Why?
She's just playing with them.
I know.
Oh, and she's so vain.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Unhealthily so.
we were talking about spiraling. I think if I were around a vampire while I aged and that dude would not, I'd be like, God, I'm withering away.
Especially if you had a crush on said vampire and you remember him from when you were 9. It's like, no.
Yeah, that'd be a problem. So the most lavishly dressed, heavily scented, and thickly painted creatures of the room turned slightly to study us. Their movement revealed Elizabeth. The queen bee sat at the center of the hive. My heart skipped a beat. Here is the legend brought to life. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello.
You better sink into that curtsy right now, girl.
So Matthew's like, I see no great change in you, your majesty. Yeah, you do, Matthew, but okay.
She knows how to play this game.
Semper Idem, as the saying goes. The same words were painted in the banner under the royal crest that ornamented the fireplace. Always the same. She goes on to say, even my Lord Treasurer can manage a deeper bow than that, sir. And he suffers from a rheum. Is that rheumatism?
Yeah.
From a rheum. So black eyes glittered from a mask of powder and rouge. Did they put powder on Diana? Did I miss that detail?
No, that's Elizabeth. Elizabeth always wore very heavy, very white powder to cover up her smallpox scars. And she had dark eyes like her mother, Anne Boleyn.
So beneath her sharply hooked nose, the queen compressed her thin lips into a hard line. And I prefer a different motto these days. Video et taceo? Is that right?
Yeah.
Video at Tassio.
I see and I am silent. And then Diana's like, we were in trouble.
on many levels.
Yeah, we're in trouble. Oh, shit.
It's like when the kids come home and I've already been emailed, they missed an assignment or whatever.
Yeah.
The rule is you tell me before I tell you.
Because I already know it. So how about, yeah. And don't bullshit about it either.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's polite sparring that happens in this chamber. It's exactly like the kind of passive aggressive shit that I can't stand because it goes on still today. And I'm an in-your-face person. And if I have a problem with people, I tend to either confront or say nothing. But these people kind of dance around like la-di-da. Here's an insult. La-di-da. Here's another insult. You know what I mean? I mean, don't get me wrong. I do passive aggressive snark really well. I'm well versed. But I hate it and I would rather not. But this appears to be this is the way things happen in court. Everything's like, wow, really? Worse than the congregation on the TV show. Worse than that, I think.
That's not even, the congregation on the TV show is not even passive aggressive. It's just aggressive.
It's just aggressive. Just in your face.
Yeah.
Okay, so Burley kind of passes by and he tells Matthew, hey, be careful, okay? And so Matthew's like, you called for me, Your Majesty. So she says, spirit and shadow in the same place. Tell me, Raleigh, does that not violate some dark principle of philosophy? And no, that wasn't her that said that.
That was Essex.
That was Essex.
He was
That
being a punk.
Oh, God, yeah.
He is a punk, not being.
Yeah.
Well, he's a total punk. He's,
Right.
you know, I'll be honest with you. I thought he was far worse than Kit. But then again, he ended up losing his head too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
there you go.
Just desserts all around.
I know.
So, who said this? If you had gone to Oxford and not Cambridge, Essex, you would know the answer.
That was Raleigh insulting him back.
Would be spared in the
Ignominy. He's basically saying you went to a second-rate school, asshole. Shut up.
Yeah, I can deal with that. Thanks. Ignominy. Okay, there we go. Ignominy.
Like ignoramus.
Yes.
Ignominy.
Or ignorant.
There you go. That's how you pronounce that word, audience. Ignominy. That's right. This is how nobility talks.
Oh, Lord.
I'm having to ask. Raleigh casually shifted his weight and placed his hand conveniently near the hilt of his sword. About to be a fight.
Yeah, there's a lot of dick swinging going on right about now.
And the queen's like, no, Robin. You know, I do not like it when others use my pet names. Lord Burleigh and Master Royden will forgive you for doing so at this time.
Because I say so.
Yes. So the Earl of Essex says, I take it this lady is your wife, Royden. We did not know you were wed. The queen's like, who is this we? And then she smacks him this time. It is no business of yours, my Lord Essex.
Who was Essex? Essex's wife? What was it? Walsingham's daughter? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she was the widow of Philip Sidney too. So it all gets very tangled right in through here.
Incestuous, you mean?
No, just
all the familial relationships, how they all kind of like
weave together.
Yeah,
I
the
got
novelty.
The novelty.
Each other.
Yeah.
Twice over.
Yeah. The novelty. Okay, so at least Matt isn't afraid to be seen around town with her, and this is Walter, and he's stroking his chin. I'm picturing him like messing with his beard here. You're recently married too, my lord. Where's your wife on this fine winter's day? Here we go. I thought, and this is Diana. Here we go.
Yep.
Here comes Matthew. Lady Essex is on Hart Street in her mother's house with the Earl's newborn heir at her side, Matthew replied on Essex's behalf. Congratulations, my lord. When I called on the Countess, she told me he was to be named after you. Ah, shit. Essex is all like, yes, Robert was baptized yesterday. Oh, God. And the fact that...
Well, Matthew was at his house and he didn't know about it till just that second.
Oh. Oh, gosh.
See, they have to keep the scene in with the back and forth because it's so, like you said, Angela, it's so delicious.
So Essex comes back and he's like, he was my lord. And Matthew gave the Earl a truly terrifying smile. He's like, strange, I did not see you at the ceremony. Elizabeth is like, enough squabbling! It's enough! It's
Paying
about
attention
me!
to
Right. Back to my anger of your marriage.
Yes. Both of your marriages.
I know.
Yes.
I gave neither of you permission to wed. You're both ungrateful, grasping wretches. Bring the girl to me. Oh,
Dang. Grasping wretches.
I know.
This is how nobility talks, dude. Okay. So they bring Diana over. She does her curtsy and she's hiding. Well, I guess she's got like ink all over her fingers. So she's hiding it behind the fan.
Walter can't even look. He's like,
You know, he's like, I can't do
like
it.
Matthew said, just because you're not looking doesn't mean it's not happening.
I know. This is a disaster in the making. Here's Elizabeth. And what fortune am I paying you, Shadow, that your wife can afford such a fan? And then now she's petulant, right? Burleigh's like, hey, if we're going to discuss the crown finances, perhaps the others might want to take their leave. Is this because they just didn't discuss the crown finances? Is it because, I don't know?
Because Burleigh knows this whole thing is going to explode in about 20 seconds, and he's trying to clear the room with
Right.
whatever excuse he's got handy.
Okay, got it.
We're not here to talk about Matthew's raise or his payroll.
Yeah. Burleigh's managing her.
Yeah. See, and this is weird. I kind of like this Burleigh guy because he makes sense to me. He's like, okay, look, let's stick to the topic at hand. And so Elizabeth is like, okay, very well. You shall stay, William, and Walter too. And then Essex is like, and me. She's like, not you, Robin.
Shut up,
You,
Robin.
you have to go seat at a banquet. Go do that.
Be
thing.
gone.
Yes.
Well, and I love this part because she's like, and I want this play. I don't want that play. No more sermonizing. I want something fun. And then her idea of fun is a play about Roger Bacon and his brazen head
Yeah.
that spouts oracles, which, doesn't it sound like somebody else we know?
I know.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that Gerbert popped up last chapter and this chapter.
In this
I
chapter.
know. She's getting around.
Which then that made me think TV show. Maybe we will get him.
Ooh. Sure,
Could be.
He's on Twitter now.
I saw that.
I know. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, Trevor, look at you. You're ahead of Matthew Good.
Yeah, I think Matthew Good is purposely staying away from Twitter.
I don't blame him. He's
Twitter,
staying off
yeah.
of social media altogether, and he needs to keep doing that.
It's smart.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I digress.
Yep, we all do. Anyway, the thing with Elizabeth here, and this is just my take on it. I know she's important. She has to make important decisions. But when she's just sitting there, she is treated like a child.
Yeah.
And she acts like one too. I want this movie. I don't want that movie. And is it just out of privilege that she's able to act that way? Is that how privileged people act? I think so.
I also
Maybe.
kind of think she's putting on a little bit of a show because it's like, well, I'm a queen and they kind of expect me to be.
Yeah.
She's playing a role there, I think.
Yeah.
But she is also very vain and self-absorbed in many, many ways.
And she's allowed to be.
Yeah, she's a queen.
She's a queen, and no one's going to tell her any different, and that's how it is. So Elizabeth wrapped her knuckles on the table. Time is, time was, and time is past. I do love that line. So Matthew and Diana are exchanging looks like, okay. And so they say, I believe the play is called Friar Bacon and the Friar
Bungay.
Bungay.
Your Majesty, a young woman whispered in her mistress's ear. Here's Bess. She's like, that's the one, Bess.
Wink,
See
wink,
to it,
Walter.
Robin. Yeah.
There you go.
See to it, Robin, and you shall sit by me.
Yeah, and didn't she carry around his head in a bag for a while?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
There's a lot of heads,
Walters, yeah.
heads, traveling heads in this story.
Wow. This is gruesome. Wow. You guys teach me a lot.
That's true love.
It's pretty much how they did it at the tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lost your head.
Yeah, there was another one where she carried around her deceased husband's heart in a box, but that was French. I can't remember who that was.
I thought we talked about her. We talked about somebody carrying their heart.
Was that Margot?
Yeah, I think so. It was like a few
Yeah.
episodes ago we talked about
Yeah,
this.
that was a while ago. That's Lewis's Margot, I think.
Yeah. Whew.
Fun family gatherings.
Somewhat mollified, the Earl of Essex withdrew, but not before shooting Walter a withering stare. Everyone flurried around him. Essex was now the most important person in their proximity. Like moths to a flame, the other courtiers were eager to share his light. So, it's basically high school again, guys.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So, here's the Queen. Did you enjoy your visit to Dr. D, Mistress Royden? And the Queen's voice was sharp. There wasn't a cajoling note in it now. She was all business. Matthew's like, we did, Your Majesty. And the Queen comes back and says, I know full well your wife can speak for herself, Master Royden. Let her do so. So Matthew starts glowering, because that's what he does. And here comes Diana. It was most enjoyable, Your Majesty. And then she's like, oh God, I just spoke to the Queen, Elizabeth.
Yeah, and then she starts feeding her a line of bullshit, which the Queen smells a mile away.
Right. I am a student of alchemy and interested in books and and learning. And the queen's like, yeah, I know what you are. What's up?
You're right.
So danger flashed all around Diana, a firestorm of black threads snapping and crying. And then Diana's like, I am your servant, your majesty, like my husband. Elizabeth comes back. I have courtiers and fools enough, Mistress Royden. You will not earn a place among them with that remark. So basically, she's like, that's
Don't
cute.
play a playa.
So she turns to Matthew. Tell me, Shadow, what business did you have with Dr. D? Ooh, she knows that too. Who told her?
She just said.
Yeah.
I see, and I am silent.
So the queen wanted to know what was going on at D. And Matthew's like, well, that was private. And the queen's like, not in my kingdom. It's not, dude. You better start talking.
Yeah, I'm surprised she wasn't wearing that dress with the eyes and the ears all over it.
Yeah.
That's in the one portrait.
So we get down to brass tacks. He said, very well, Master Royden. Since you are determined to keep your secret, I will tell you my business with Dr. D. And see if it loosens your tongue. I want Edward Kelly back in England. Burleigh's like, I believe he's Sir Edward now. Your Majesty.
He's like really into titles, didn't he?
Yeah.
How bourgeois of him.
Elizabeth is like, where did you hear that? And then Matthew's like, from me. It is, after all, my job to know these things. Why do you need Kelly? Here's basically what it is. He knows how to make the Philosopher's Stone, and I will not have it in Habsburg's hands. It should be to me because I'm getting old and I need
Give
that
me the
thing.
money.
Give me the shit. Bring it. Matthew's like, is that all you're afraid of? Is this why we're here? Oh, shit. We can fix this. She's afraid of dying and leaving her kingdom to be fought over like a scrap of meat between dogs from Spain and France and Scotland.
She wants to fund her war with Spain and be done with it once and for all.
Matthew says Edward Kelly is not God's answer. I promise you that. Elizabeth says any ruler who possesses the Philosopher's Stone will have an inexhaustible supply of riches. Had I had more gold at my disposal, I can destroy the Spanish. Matthew's like, well, and if wishes were thrushes, beggars could eat birds. La-di-da.
Yeah.
So they're going back and forth here. Basically, Matthew says, I have the same desire that you do, Your Majesty, to save England from disaster. If you go the way of King James and start persecuting the demons, witches, and wares among your subjects, you will suffer for it, and so will the realm. Being so petulant, she was saying, oh, and there's that congregation, and why am I putting up with these creatures and all this bullshit? That's what I took out of it.
Well, and the thing I took out of it too is it's like this is getting dangerously close to the shoe being on the other foot. Now, instead of the creatures meddling in human politics, the humans want to exploit the creatures for their own gain.
Yeah.
Because they feel they have the upper hand. The scales are shifting as we read this passage.
That's true. And I mean, I think it was maybe Miriam that mentioned it in A Discovery of Witches, that at one time it was kind of like a 50-50 mix of creatures versus humans.
And now it's down to 10%.
And now it's down to 10%. And imagine if when it was a 50-50 mix, the humans would be gone, I would think. I don't know. So I would think it was always a power struggle if, you have that mix. And like the queen, she's aware of what's going on. And I think most of the monarchs we talk to are aware of the creatures. So
yeah.
I think they would have to be.
I would agree. Although I would really be interested, maybe we'll see this in Fernando's book. I am super, super curious about King Philip of Spain and his, since he is like, so he makes Matthew look like a Christmas and Easter Catholic.
Wow.
In comparison, Matthew's very C&E.
Oh, wow.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, no wonder why he had interest in Mary Tudor, not love or romantically, but they were a religious match.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be curious to see how Deb would write his interactions with creatures.
Okay, so after Matthew says, if you go the way of King James and start persecuting the creatures, you'll suffer, and so will the realm. And then Elizabeth's like, what do you propose I do about it instead? Matthew comes back, I propose we make an agreement. Not one far different from the bargain you struck with Raleigh. I will see that Edward Kelly returns to England so that you can lock him in the tower and force him to deliver up the Philosopher's Stone, if he can. Elizabeth's like, okay.
What's the catch?
Yeah, well, what's up? And Burleigh's freaking out. Burleigh's like, oh God. So Matthew suggests, in return, you will harbor as many Berwick witches as I can get out of Edinburgh until King James's madness has run its course. And Burleigh's like, no, absolutely not. We can't can't do this. Think, madam, what might happen to your relationship with our neighbors to the north if you were to invite scores of Scottish witches over the border? Matthew's like, there's not so many witches left in Scotland, so, Yeah. So the Queen's like, I did think, Shadow, that one of your occupations while in England was to make sure your people did not meddle in our politics. What if these private machinations were found out? How will you explain your actions? He says, I will say that misery acquaints every man with strange bedfellows, Your Majesty. Elizabeth softens here. She's like, that's doubly true for women. Very well. We are agreed. You will go to Prague and go get Kelly. Mistress Royden will attend upon me here in court to ensure your speedy return. How's that? Like that deal?
No.
No. Matthew's not having it. Matthew says, my wife is not part of our bargain, and there's no need to send me to Bohemia in January. You are determined to have Kelly back. I will see that he's delivered. Here comes Elizabeth. You're not king here. What a baby.
Yeah.
I say, but here it gets a little telenovela here.
Yeah.
But you're not king here.
Yeah.
Which is such a loaded statement.
I just kept thinking, oh, but Lizzie, isn't he though? Isn't he? I mean, because the way he's manipulating her and working her, it just seems like, really?
He's had years and years and years and decades of practice managing her from when she was all in a fit that that her father was taking his upteenth wife and he had to manage a situation then. This is not anything. I actually, when you were reading the patch, I'm like patting Matthew on the head. Good, Matthew. She's being the emotional one. You're being the reasonable one for once.
For once. Maybe that's why he acts up at home. He always has to be reasonable out here.
Yeah.
She comes back and said, you will go where I send you, Master Royden. If you do not, I will have you and your witch of a wife in the tower for treason and worse.
Knock, knock, knock.
Yes.
Here comes opportunity knocking.
And saved by the fucking bell, right? Or by the door knock.
That's what I said. It turns telenovela here. Like all the heads turn.
It's like
in a Spanish soap opera.
Oh, I know.
And the music. Oh,
yeah.
And I almost wonder if she had like her ear cocked to the door waiting for the perfect moment.
Yeah. The Queen's like, God's teeth. Am I never to know a moment's peace? Show her in. When they announce it's Mary. She says, you once granted me a boon, Your Majesty. And then Elizabeth's like, yes. What has your husband done now? And Mary's like, nothing at all. I have come to ask for permission to send Mistress Royden on an important errand. Oh, this just happens to work out. So why do
I think she's standing out there with Gallowglass?
I feel like she knows what's going down. And
I'm thinking Gallowglass with his vampire hearing is like giving the play-by-play like Miriam would have.
And he's probably like, now, you need to enter now. Now, go.
There's your cue.
Go.
There's your cue. Go. You don't need to cup your ear to the door when you got Gallowglass with you.
So after Mary says, I need to send Diana on an important errand, and Elizabeth's like, I cannot imagine why. She seems neither useful or resourceful. I'm like, oh, damn. So she comes up with this thing. I have a need of special glasses for my experience that only could be acquired from the Emperor Rudolph's workshops. My brother's wife, forgive me, for since Philip's death, she is now remarried, and the Countess of Essex tells me that Master Royden is being sent to Prague. Mistress Royden will go with him, with your blessing, and fetch what I require. I mean, it's no big deal, right?
You know what? I'm wondering if Burleigh was at the house last night to send Diana scampering off to Woodstock so she would not be in court alone with Elizabeth. He knew this is what Elizabeth was going to do, is try and separate them.
Burleigh's being like the ultimate fixers, basically.
Yeah, and all the gossip got around to Mary, which is why Mary was on the stoop with the clothes, and she already knew that what the play was going to be.
Right. It's like he's got this whiteboard, and just like, okay, you go here, you do this, you with the clothes, you go. He's
actually one step further than that. He's not just so Diana's not there in court. He's there so Diana won't go to Prague.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because for her to say, my brother's wife tells me that Master Royden is being sent to Prague. How does she know that?
Yeah. That means Robin had to have overheard something the day before at court about, I'm going to send Royden to go get Kelly.
Right. So then that's where Burleigh comes in and goes to the house and wants to send Diana to Woodstock. And I think it's not, I think he just wanted the smooth path to be opened. She won't be at court. She would be no barrier to go to Prague. She'll stay in Woodstock. Won't have to worry about Elizabeth.
Fixed.
Yeah.
Fixed.
Yeah. Fixed. Mary has this favor that the Queen owes her, and she's about to use it on Matthew and Diana. And Elizabeth is kind of like, whoa, and you want to waste such a precious gift on these two. Mary goes on, once Matthew saved Philip's life, he's like a brother to me. And so Elizabeth's like, okay, whatever. whatever. You got me in a corner. Very well, I will keep my word, but I want Edward Kelly in my presence by midsummer, and I don't want this bungled or for all of Europe to know my business. Do you understand me, Master Royden? Matthew's like, yes, Your Majesty. And he says it through gritted teeth. Get yourself to Prague then and take your wife with you to please Lady Pembroke.
So it just confirms it that Essex told everyone.
Yeah.
Blabbed.
Yep. Fucking loudmouth. So she shoos them out of my sight, all of you, before I change my mind. And then a word of caution, Your Majesty. Do not place your trust in the Earl of Essex. And that was from Matthew. Elizabeth's like, you don't like him, Master Royden, nor does William or Walter, but he makes me feel young again. Elizabeth turned her black eyes on him. You once performed that service for me and reminded me of happier times. Now you have found another and I am abandoned.
Wah, wah, wah.
So that's what I was talking about. I'm like, did she have a crush on him? What was going on?
She liked the notoriety that having younger men pay attention to her gave her.
And Matthew's perpetually young.
Yeah, I mean, it was an ego boost.
Can we go back to Mary? Because we had established that she came in her quote unquote limo so she could be seen. But you think she was also doing it to say to the Queen and Burleigh, I'm not doing anything behind your back. I'm doing it right in front of your face. You see what I'm doing.
Yeah. I think she was, like you said, she was doing a lot of signaling.
Yes. So Elizabeth said, I'm tired. And she turned her head away. And I have no stomach for poetry. Leave me. Because Matthew just said, my care is like my shadow in the sun, follows me flying, flies when I pursue it, stands and lies by me, doth what I have done. Matthew said softly, and I am your shadow, Majesty, and I have no choice but to go where you lead. Elizabeth's like, just go. You broke my heart. Just go.
I'm done with this for today. Just leave.
Which is the poem she wrote for the French lover she had, or the French suitor she had.
Yeah.
De Medici's son.
Yeah. What is the name?
One of the
escapes me.
Not Duke d'Orleans.
No.
The frog. The one who looked like the frog. Can't remember his name.
Well, the poem is Almaser's Departure, and it was written for the Duke of Anjou. That's what I was thinking. Francis.
Okay.
Oh, see there? This is like season 3 of some drama that I'm totally missing.
Or maybe
Matthew
Matthew wrote it and she picked it up. I guess we're led to believe. Or maybe not. I don't know. Could be the way around.
All right. So we're back in Henry's barge, okay? And Matthew's like, yeah, no, we're not going to Prague.
We're going home.
We have to go home. Mary's like, the Queen will not leave you in peace just because you flee for Woodstock, Matthew. And Diana's like, he doesn't mean Woodstock, Mary. Matthew means somewhere farther. And then Mary's like, oh, she kind of knows, but she doesn't want to know. Don't tell me anymore.
She's missed stick her fingers in her ear.
Yeah. But later, Walter persuaded Matthew that the Queen was serious and would have us both in the tower if we refused her. So when I told Goody Allsup she was as opposed to Prague as Matthew was, Goody's like, nope, you're not ready for craziness like that. All you have now is a wayward fire drake, a glam that is near to blinding, and a tendency to ask questions that have mischievous answers. You do not have enough knowledge of the craft to succeed with your plan. So no, you should be going back to your own time, not doing with this bullshit. Diana's like, I'll continue to study in Prague. I promise.
Spoken like a teenager for sure.
I'll take my books with me. I'll take my assignments. I'll get my assignments from the teachers. I promise. Matthew made a bargain with the Queen that might protect dozens of witches. We cannot be separated. It's too dangerous. I won't let him go into the Emperor's court without me. And then Goody's like, no, not while there's breath in your body. Very well, go with your wear. But know this, Diana Royden, you are setting a new course, and I cannot foresee where it might lead.
Ominous.
Yes. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, but Bridget Bishop had the last card to play on this hand.
She says, the ghost of Bridget Bishop told me there's no path forward that does not have him in it. So, 3 days later, on the feast of St. Bridget, we all set sail on our long journey to see the Holy Roman Emperor find a treacherous English demon and at long last catch a glimpse of Ashmole 782.
This is really important. The Feast of St. Bridget is also Imbolc.
Yeah.
Very, very key because they end up leaving Prague on Beltane.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we just mentioned Bridget Bishop leaving on her namesake feast day.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I should probably just save this for the appropriate chapter, but something else came very, very clear to me.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Then I'll spoil it. I mean, mean, this is the season between Imbolc and Beltane where he finally decides to drink from her heart vein and their pregnancy takes.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that she miscarried before is he had not committed. He had not really drank from the heart vein, and it was the wrong.
He wasn't all in, maybe.
It was, yeah, it wasn't, and it was also the wrong season. It was like the season of death because it was between Samhain and Imbolc. It wasn't the right. They were talking about how there's a season for everything, and she miscarried. Well, magically, that was not the season for them. That's when everything is dormant.
I mean, it kind of correlates to the tree too.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Anything else about this chapter that struck you before we move on, guys? The court intrigue to me is always like, I love reading about it. I love all the little jabs, but to deal with that in person, oh, fuck no, I'm out. I gotta go. Oh, shit, I'm out. That's me. Gotta go.
I'm kind of conditioned because the first time around I was all in with the court, and this time I am too, but I guess I'm just, it was good. But this time around, the things I didn't pay attention to, I'm really liking, which is like a lot of the Goody Alsop and the prophecy and the Weaver's cords and all that, which the first time I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Got to get to the court.
Yeah.
It's funny because with each reread, you hone in on different things.
Yes.
And it's like, wow, I didn't remember even taking that in the last time, but there's so many little different nuggets in each one of these chapters.
Oh, yes.
It's like, it's designed for rereads. Let's just face it. So
and it's not just different little nuggets. It's different little pathways of nuggets. You can like hone in on the court nuggets and have a whole trail to follow, or you could follow the coven nugget. It's not just a nugget. It's like there's always a whole little stream of things you can follow, depending on what direction you want to go any given time.
Mm-hmm. It's sort of like Times Convert, where you can read the 3 separate stories separately.
Yes.
Or together.
Yes.
You can go this path, or this path, and take out different things.
It's kind of like choose your ending.
Yeah, sort of like that, in a way. All right, guys. Anything else? Going once?
Nope.
Going twice?
Nope.
Sold. All right. On housekeeping. This time, housekeeping is brought to you by Melanie Nelson. Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you, Melanie.
Housekeeping. Okay, so with the housekeeping, this just happened to come in. We got a message off of our webpage. Somebody left a very long message. So shouts to Chelsea. We read it. We understand where you're coming from, but you know what? Take 60, as we decided on our after show, is going to be a profile study on Baldwin, and we've chosen to save your commentary, and we thought it was interesting. We do have things to say, but we want to save it. Shouts to you. Keep writing in. And if you want, become a discusser. Go to demonsdiscuss.com, fill out the little form, and we'll make you a discusser. And this way you'll get our emails and prompts, and you can just write in every time we say something, or you have comments on a chapter, something strikes your fancy, and you can just comment that way. So you're not relying on the little message thing on the page, even though that's there for that too. So thank you, Chelsea. Anybody else have any other housekeeping?
Speaking of discussers, I've got a message from our discusser-in-chief, Stephen.
Hey.
Hello, delightful demons. Chapter 24 sent me on another history research project, this time looking up Master Hugh Platt. Platt wrote a number of books on eclectic subjects, from reference books on British botany and agriculture methods called Flores Paradis, to The Delights for Ladies, a household guide and recipe book for ladies, presumably including Walter Raleigh's mother's method for making pastry. Platt also obtained what was probably the first pasta-making machine in London. He tried to capitalize on this in 1596 by proposing that the Royal Navy adopt macaroni as a staple food supply for long voyages instead of salted beef and fish and liquor. He claimed that this macaroni, there is sufficient matter to be had all the year round from a sole supplier himself. Platt was regarded as an inventor and an alchemist. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Stephen. This was really interesting.
Thanks,
I didn't
Stephen.
realize.
Yeah, I didn't know
The whole pasta
that.
machine thing is fascinating to me.
I know.
Instead of dried meats and stuff, let's have some macaroni salad, guys. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Stephen.
Every time I hear macaroni, though, I think of the term back at Yankee Doodle, put a feather in his cap and called it macaroni.
And called it macaroni.
Because that was the term for a stylish person. You were saying you're stylish. Hey, Val, you're macaroni.
Ooh. Why, thank you, Angela.
That makes me think of Essex in this chapter.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. Angela, what do you have?
I have an email from Sue.
Yay, Sue.
Hey,
Thank you.
Sue.
She says, have I mentioned I love this group? I was returning home from minor surgery this afternoon, tired and a bit muzzy from anesthesia, and stopped to pick up our mail. There was a cheerful red hand-addressed and wax-stamped in cap letters envelope with a handwritten in cap letters, "Thank you for my pledge." It wasn't the first time I felt it, but you made my day. Timing couldn't have been better. My husband was so amused to see me so excited. How do you have the time, especially with what I expect are exploding memberships? Thank you for all you do and your ever cheerful presence in my life. XOXOXO Sue.
Thank you,
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Sue. That's awesome.
I will say that if you guys are taking the time to join us on Patreon and giving us your money and your support, I can take 5 minutes to write out a card and tell you how much we appreciate it. I was schooled in the old way where you always have thank you cards on your desk. You just do. So if somebody sends you something, and now with the internet and everything, especially Angela, Jean, and I, we send gifts to each other occasionally. We'll just get on Messenger. Thank you, I got my thing. Thank you, I got my thing. But I think for correspondence, it's very important to let people know, yes, we so much appreciate it. As little or as much as you give, it helps us so much. You cannot imagine how much it helps us make this podcast happen for everybody. And it's a lot. And we started doing it on our own. Oh, there's a dog fight.
That sounded scary.
Yeah. And we started doing it on our own, and we'd split the cost, and it was no big deal. But it came to a point where it's like, this is really getting overwhelming. We need to do something. And all of our listeners that enjoy us and love us, and they stepped up and they help us. And so thank you, Sue. I don't mind writing out cards. And you know what? No one knows how satisfying it is to make a wax stamp. Seriously. Squish. It's so cool. Thank you, Sue. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so now let's go on to Save It for the Show. You guys ready?
Ready?
Yes.
This episode, Save It for the Show, is brought to you by Susie Glenn. Thank you, Susie. Yay! And Susie is like old school, like OG, original gangster.
Yes.
All
we've known
souls
Susie
appreciate her.
for ages.
For
Thank you,
ages.
Susie.
Like we went to Salem once and she was with us.
Yes. Susie, we knew Susie as long as we've known each other. So
Yeah, wasn't Susie part of the Pyewacket posse?
Yes, the Poppet, the
Yes,
Pyewacket
the
Poppet.
infamous Pyewacket Poppet.
I'm going to have to find a picture and put that in the show notes.
Yes.
Yes. So we'll do that. That was
I'm just
from
laughing
Karen.
because when you said squish, I came with the Chicago song.
Chicago.
But then pop it. You pop it one more time.
Lip shits.
Yes. Anyways.
Anyway, on to Save It for the Show.
Save it for the show.
Save it for the show.
Guys, save it for the show.
All right, Save It for the Show topic, book canon versus TV canon and the confusion with the fusion. Proceed with caution. Go, guys.
Yeah. I've noticed a tendency is people want to start combining and the two different canons. I mean, and granted, a lot of it does fit pretty seamlessly, but there are some departures and you just can't do it willy-nilly.
No.
It makes a big old mess.
I don't think we're going to be able to do it cleanly going forward either because we have more source material with the World of All Souls, with Times Convert, it's not even just gap filling in the TV show. We're getting more layers on top of it.
Well, and with the changes, it's going to start diverging even with this next season of TV with the changes in Isabel's appearance, with the way that the congregation makeup has been altered somewhat.
Yes.
With the fact that the fertility issues have been backburnered somewhat from the first show to the second show.
Yes.
Season. With the fact that I don't think we've had a single hint about Matthew's blood rage in the first series at all. Not even a teeny tiny hint.
But we didn't get into the first book either.
Yeah, we didn't get the first book. And I'd say we've gotten more, I would think, because of the end of the first episode. I can't say it was blood rage, but it was certainly more highlighted in the TV show about his instincts.
Well, the protectiveness too.
And smelling her jacket as intensely as he did.
Yeah. I think a lot of it gets merged because the TV show is, I can only liken it to True Blood. Lafayette was my favorite character and he didn't exist in the books. Well, he was there, but he died. So
Yeah.
Separating the two, I have to go True Blood, the TV show versus
Oh, yeah.
the series.
Not that I watch it, but I mean, it'd be the same way with Outlander because like they brought Murtaugh back to life. You know,
Right.
dead characters aren't dead. And well, we're still not quite sure what's going on with Jillian. That
Jillian.
remains to be seen.
Right. Yeah, I would say no one get any ideas about Philippe or anything. It's not going there.
Yeah.
And I mean, the simple fact of the matter is that, you know, how we always go into these great big flights of fancy, as I like to call them, an analysis when we were dealing with the text in the book and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I've seen the temptation for people to want to cram the book and the show together to get to their result, like being very result oriented. And it's like, well, you're kind of mixing apples and hand grenades in this instance. You can't do that. Like you said, fusion of confusion.
Okay, so with the congregation, there's Rico Jayen. Now, we don't know if he's a replacement to Rima. We don't know if he's Rima's relative, or we don't know, hey, you know, we just decided to put an actor instead of an actress in this place here.
But more importantly, with the congregation is the gender makeup. It is, especially when you start talking about
The demons.
objectives of the congregation, and then like you said, the demons. You know, we lose a female demon.
Yes.
We lose a female
witch.
We lose a female witch.
Yeah.
Then you get into the whole thing about what exactly is the purpose of the congregation too. So
Yeah. And then there's the Knights of Lazarus. Of course, we got a lot more from the books
yes.
than we did on the TV show. I can see that at this point in time, right where we're at. I can see if you need more information on the Knights of Lazarus, you can go back to the book because there's nothing that conflicts right now, currently.
At this point.
But the next season, they might say something where we're like, that's not true. You know?
Right.
So there's a whole, like Matthew's names, right?
Yeah.
He always uses his Christian name. That's, if we were to go by book canon, that's not
doesn't.
true.
That's not
he
true at
does
all.
not. No, he's got a whole bunch of names.
Yep.
And he uses them as needed.
Yes.
As it's suited. For the TV show, if him always using his Christian name, Matthew, it may suit because it would confuse the watcher less, you know, because him being Sebastian or something else in another season would be weird, especially since you have the Matthew going on. You still know he's Matthew. Even if he's Matthew next season, you'll still know he's Matthew. His last name's different.
His full name is never said in this TV show, is it?
No.
Nope. All of his names.
Names are not that important in the TV show.
No.
Names are less important.
And then there's the, dare I bring it up, the age aspect of Isabeau, because I'm only bringing this up because Deb brought it up again. She said in TV canon, grief can age a vampire. And I don't even think she specified TV canon. She just said several things can age a vampire. Grief is one of them.
Yes.
So I was like, wait, but
yeah, you know, this has been my bugaboo for months.
yeah, and it's like, but is that book or TV? And we're sitting there. So, I guess my best suggestion is just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Take notes, and just for shits and giggles, we'll talk about the differences after all this thing is done. And we can ruminate about them. But for now, I have no suggestions.
Yeah.
It wasn't very helpful.
I'm really curious to see how the whole thing with Marcus is going to play out too.
As far as his backstory.
The failure to sire. I mean, because we may not get Jack. They may have put Jack's story, just given it to Marcus, or that might be what they're thinking, and we're not going to get a Jack.
Yeah.
That would be very divergent.
That would be a divergent thing that we cannot fuse.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they've got species decline attributed to Marcus is a thing that's going to have to be dealt with going forward, because they sort of introduce this whole evolutionary storyline and then it just kind of lays there.
Okay, so in the books, species decline is indicated by the vampire murders.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, there's these vampire murders everywhere. They're popping up all over the world. And Matthew and Miriam are getting indicators that the vampires are not able to sire. They're also getting indicators that witches are not as powerful.
Here's where I kind of like, and this is just popping in my head right now. It's like, okay, they're saying this failure to, I almost wonder if Matthew was perhaps got some sort of sample from a crime scene and knew it was something else and was putting the failure to sire as species decline. He was putting that story out out there to cover up the fact that there's blood rage floating around that's not his?
I don't know.
I guess we'll have to see.
I guess we'll see.
How do you say vampires are failing to sire? I mean, is it like ancient vampires, all vampires, modern day vampires, or is it because of modern humans that they're trying to turn? I didn't understand.
Well, that's all they were saying is failure to sire wasn't, that vampires were less powerful and less able to turn people, I think.
Well, in the TV show, it almost seems like, okay, vampires are losing their ability to sire. Well, is it the environment? Is it what's going on? Is
Right,
it
because vampires are constant, if nothing.
Yeah.
Well, we could talk about this all day. Maybe we just drop it in Shelley's lap and let her sort it out.
I'm fine with that. I don't want to figure out science. I want someone to tell me.
Shelley.
Okay. The storylines, I don't know. I feel like there's a vision here on the TV show end, just like there was we might end up in totally different places.
I think so too. I'm prepared for the divergence, and I think that my whole thought on the Save It for the Show is just people need to kind of
be flexible, be prepared.
Be prepared.
As soon as someone said they're two different mediums and enjoy them for what they are separately, and then the casting of Isabeau, I've totally separated it. I whatever
agree.
happens. I mean, there's certain scenes I would love to see or have played out, but whatever happens with the show, I'm fine.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to try and mash them together and use one to explain something going on in the other.
Yeah. So just proceed with caution is our message. But I mean, do what you want. If you want to fuse the two stories together, I mean, I guess this is how fan fiction emerges.
Yeah.
But understand that it is an adaptation of the series. So the end result might be same conclusion, but how they got there might be different.
Fusion confusion.
Sense. Yeah.
Kind of like some of those fusion meals that some of these restaurants want to be putting out.
Sushi tacos. That's the
I was
thing.
going to say Sushi Tech, where they have tequila and jalapeno tuna rolls.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, some of it's, I think it's good. Some of it, not so good, not so hot. Be like, that fusion was a disaster. Anyway.
Yep.
Any last thoughts for these? Save it for the show before we go to last thoughts.
All set.
Okay. Stick with us, audience. After this message, we'll do last thoughts and things we cannot let go of. Find this show wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Contact us. We are at demonsdiscuss@gmail.com. Leave us a voicemail, 360-519-7836. Or leave us one on SpeakPipe, speakpipe.com/demonsdiscuss. Hit us up on social media, and we are at Demons Discuss or at Demons Domain. Join our Facebook group, Demonic Discussers. The keys to get in are in the show notes. And if you're listening on your mobile device, click the description. It'll be there too. Become a discusser. And there are 2 ways to do that now. And if you're in the U.S., text ADOW as in ADOW, as in a discovery of witches. So text ADOW to 444-999 or visit demonsdiscuss.com. Scroll down, fill out the form, and spam our code, and that's it, you're a discusser. Visit our main site, demonsdomain.com, to see what we're up to. And if you like what you hear, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Keep Angela alive! What are your last thoughts, Jean? Anything?
My last thoughts. The live tweeting has been a lot of fun for the AMC episodes.
I catch it always 2 days late.
I kind of like circle around on Monday morning, but still, it's still fun. I tried to watch some of it during the broadcast time, and I'm just glad it's taken off.
It looks like it's a lot of fun for people who participate in the moment. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Live tweeting. Yeah, it is fun. It is fun. I mean, I love the GIFs that people come up with, and sometimes the observations. Like I said, I love seeing the non-book readers' observations. And there's one that follows us, and she's not reading the books. And once in a while, she'll ask us questions to clarify things in the TV show. And I try to only give like the bare minimum answer because I don't want to give anything away. I want her to enjoy the full experience on her own.
Yeah, get it. So, damn it, I'm just gonna have to pick up this book, aren't I?
Yes, right.
Live tweeting. Yeah. When I log into Twitter, usually it's Monday or Tuesday. I just kind of look around, see what's going on. I've blocked a lot of stuff on my feed because I just don't want to see certain things happening right now because I can't believe it. And so it's basically just been following the fandom around and seeing what's going on. And I see the hashtags and I see, I'm like, oh, when was this? And I'll look at the date and I'm like, oh, that was Sunday night. Oh, you're late.
Well, that's the weird thing about Twitter is they'll give you something like it's brand new and you look, it's like, oh, 17 hours ago that happened.
Yeah. That was Sunday night. What was I doing? Oh, I was working. Right. Got it. So yeah, that's fun. And I see that BBC America, more than AMC, I think, has been putting out like little behind the scenes clips here and there. And it's been really cool to watch. A lot of it we've missed. I mean, I didn't see it before. So like the witch wind and the witchwater scene and how they did everything. And it's like, and that sit down with talking about it was really cool to be lifted up by wires and when they were blowing him back by these big ass fans. And yeah, it's really cool to sit down and talk to the actors and see what they think of the characters. Yeah. And I think I did read something where Louise Brealey. Yeah, Louise Brealey was talking about playing Jillian. And I think Jillian is she's fascinating because in the book, she was just this nemesis. She was just, Diana really wanted nothing to do with her.
Right.
She came off really mean, and especially the last exchange she had with her. And they were just short, quick exchanges. I think with the TV show, it's more devastating because she's a friend of Diana.
Right.
And she's jealous and she's short-sighted and she's a little bit bigoted because of how she was raised. And there's all of this coming into play. So talk about fusion confusion. These are two separate situations, and talking about how it's like, I wonder what they're going to do with Jillian. Yeah, we're all wondering what they're going to do with Jillian. So Louise said, I don't know if they're bringing her back. I don't know what for or what's going on. So yeah, I'll put a link to that article I read in the show notes. So that was interesting. Anything else, Jean, that you have for last thoughts?
No, I'm pretty comfortable this week.
Cool.
My brain isn't spinning, which is a nice change.
Angela, how about you? Specific last thoughts for you.
For me, Times Convert real-time read is in 2 days. It'll be longer than that by the time they hear this, but I'm not making a commitment, but I'll see what I feel like doing on social media.
What?
To celebrate it.
Look out.
Oh.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. We should probably mention that the Times Convert real-time read is going to be happening on the All Souls discussion group. The link will be in the show notes.
And it starts on Mother's Day.
Sunday, May 12th. Yes. 12th. So by the time you hear this, that would have passed, but it'll be ongoing. So you'll still be able to join in, and there will be a calendar available, and that is at the 10th Knot. I believe that's the 10thknot.net. That will also be in the show notes, where Laura has produced a real-time reading calendar for Times Convert. So there's that.
Yeah. By the time y'all hear this, we'll probably be on chapter 7, because we've got some days where there's multiple chapters going on in the next week. And I know this because I'm doing chapter 1 with Maud Renee.
Awesome. I'm doing a chapter, but it's going to be later in the month. So yeah, I'll have to take a look at that again. I told her I didn't care.
What can people expect from real-time reading? I mean, not the day matches with the chapter. I don't mean that. Like, what are you going to be doing in the group?
Oh, what am I doing? I'm doing a lot like what Val used to do in the old days on the real-time reads when we do the chapter reviews. We're going to be posting some provocative, think questions, Pinterest type stuff, Easter eggs, maybe our plan is maybe a fun question or two, some character questions. It's going to be a real mixed bag because we've got a ton of different people participating and everybody is the captain of their own chapter.
Yeah.
So it should be fun. I'm hoping we'll get to see some different approaches.
What I used to do is basically, okay, we're starting a new chapter, and I did the real-time read on Shadow of Night.
Yes.
Back then. So what I would do is open up the chapter and say, what is this chapter about? I'd pull out little historical factoids, little things I looked up online, pictures that if you couldn't picture something, this is what this looks like, Pinterest things. Yeah. But Pinterest, I don't know if that's a still viable place anymore. I don't know. I never visited, but I know people who still Pinterest.
Oh yeah.
Pictures, historical facts. Hey, this character made me feel this. What did you feel? And I'll pose a question. Usually 4 or 5 different things to get people talking. And the results were usually, we'd always wind up cracking up at the end of it. So That's when I was running it, so I don't know. I don't know how it's going to wind up this time. And plus, it was a smaller group back then too. So
True.
We'll see. We shall see. And I think it's going to be fun.
I know. I'm thinking digging into the Times Convert is going to be so much fun because there's so many different things going on. I probably over volunteered, but we'll use it again. I grabbed a Freya chapter. I grabbed the Baldwin chapter.
Over volunteered. Holy crap! You were like me.
Well, Renee and I are doing the ransom chapter together. I told her I'd help her with that. And then I am so looking forward to working with one of our discussers, Katie, on chapter 13, which is the one with the blood sampling. So that's going to be tons of fun.
Should be fun.
So we'll see. I mean, there's teams on most of these, so it'll be good. It'll be good.
Yeah. See, when you said that, I thought you were going to be like, who knows what I may do? And I was like, oh, is she going to join? What?
Oh, no.
No. Okay. There you go.
Don't talk about over
No.
Ain't going to happen. We care the info of that.
Right, exactly. See how good your intervention went?
Okay, so my last thought, guys. The guesses on the Purple Notebook. We have 3 or 4 of them. They've come in, and I've made a special folder in our discusser email box. So that's where those are all going. And when Deb reveals what she's actually working on in that Purple Notebook, we will go through all the answers and we will pick all the ones that were close, and we'll pick all the ones that actually nailed it. And out of those, we'll do a random.org draw from that, and we'll give out a prize. I don't know what the prize is going to be. We have a lot of things in our prize closet. Who knows? It's going to be good. It's going to be good. We're usually good about that.
What did she say about it in her Facebook Live? She just said that it was not there in the stack at the time. Is that what I heard her say?
I don't know. She's the Facebook Lives where she referred to it. She said, the one I'm working on is purple now. And then she said, I pick out my notebook colors based on what's available, but I try to match them up. And she said, Matthew is black, Galaglass is green, and so on and so forth.
Marcus was burgundy. Mm-hmm. Those burgundy ones that were in the AMC short clip, those were Times Convert notebooks.
But now she's working on a purple one. And we don't know who she's working on, but we assume she's going to reveal it soon. So if you have any guesses as to what character Deb is currently working on, make sure you send in your guess to demonsdiscuss@gmail.com, or we'll pick out the information out of the discusser group too, and I'll put all of that in the folder. I'll send it to myself and put all of that in the folder too, so we can widen our reach as far as to people's guesses. And also, All Souls Con, 20 tickets left as of the time we're recording this.
It's amazing.
So there's only 20 tickets left, and if you're interested, go to allsoulscon.org/tickets. Also, I looked at, I opened up our email and I noticed another Fuck This Shit I'm Out t-shirt just sold. So if you, it's a hot item, guys. So if you guys are interested in purchasing one of our t-shirts, and yes, the Fuck This Shit I'm Out Fitzio shirt is available in there. You go to go.demonsdiscuss.com/shop, and our t-shirts are available. All of these graphics are available on mugs. They're available on pouches. They're available on tote bags. Even the witch ball is available in a scarf. Look at that. Fancy scarf. So yeah, if you're interested in that, go purchase something. And by the way, if you don't want to become a patron and you want to help us out, buying a t-shirt, buying an item, buying any of these things helps us out. We put it right back into our operation. So just so you guys don't think that we're getting this money and we're like, let's just, go nuts and roll around in it. No, it goes right back into what we do in Demon's Domain, Demons Discuss, which pays for cloud storage. It pays for our podcast hosting. It pays for our website hosting. It pays for our domains. It pays for, God, there's so much involved with doing this stuff, guys. You guys don't know, but thank you. You are helping us.
The list keeps getting longer and longer.
It does get longer and longer. So thank you so much for those of you who support us on Patreon, buy our t-shirts, and help us out. because it does help us out. And, with the Redbubble store, you buy it, you guys get a t-shirt and we get money. So that works out. I don't have anything else. I think that's good. I think I've talked us out. Anything else, guys?
Nope.
Oh, it looks like Deb is planning on oysters for dinner tonight.
Okay.
Oysters and champagne.
Thanks to Instagram. She's day drinking gin.
All right. That's the way we do it. And I'll put a link to that in the show notes too. So you can.
Demon approved.
There you go. All right. Let's say goodbye, everybody. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Demon kiss. Mwah.
We'll talk to you in a fortnight. Bye.
Bye.